A major financial shift is happening right now if Washington gets its way. Bitcoin, it could skyrocket past $700,000. But here's the catch. They plan to fund it with $768 billion in newly printed dollars backed by Americans' gold reserves. The problem with this? Well, first off, when was the last time that the gold reserves of America was actually audited? Well, the answer to that is 1953. 7 decades of blind trust, a few staged media visits, and no real verification that the gold even exists. But suddenly, the government wants to revalue the gold and turn it into Bitcoin instead. So what does this actually mean for you? Is this a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, or is it just another rig game where the government picks the winners and the rest of us, well, we just pay the price? Today in this video, I'm going to be breaking it all down. What this bill really says, how it could impact Bitcoin, gold, and inflation, and most importantly, how to make sure you end up on the winning side of this financial shift. Now, first off, I want to welcome you to the Wealth Outside of Wall Street YouTube channel, where we expose the financial lies that keep you trapped and teach you the strategies to take back control over your money and over your life. My name is Ryan D. Lee, and if you're here, it means that you're serious about doing something different with your money, about building real wealth outside of a broken system. Our goal on this channel is pretty simple. It's to help you achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less using a very simple investment system that we call the passive income machine. We challenge conventional financial wisdom, and we show you how to create income, not just accumulate assets and hope to retire one day. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and tell a friend, because friends, well, they don't let friends retire broke. So let's break all of this down. The bill that was just introduced would revalue America's gold reserves from a legally recognized price as of today of $42 per ounce to the actual market price, which just went over $3,000 per ounce. The government would then use that revaluation to print $768 billion without raising taxes or borrowing. They would take that newly printed money and then they would go buy Bitcoin. They would be single-handedly the largest Bitcoin holder in the entire world. Now, before we get into the ins and the outs and the ethics of this strategy, think about this. What would it be like to have a money printing press? Oh my gosh, just print some money, create it out of thin air, and go buy $768 billion worth of Bitcoin. That sounds kind of fun. But now back to the real world. On paper, this looks like a massive move into digital assets backed by the federal government and Donald Trump. But let's first off be clear. When the government starts playing these kinds of games, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. If the government's going to flood $768 billion into the financial system, a few things are going to happen. Number one, asset prices, they're not just going to go up, they're going to literally detonate. Bitcoin, boom. Gold, boom. And inflation, well, here's the real kicker. That's the silent tax that's eating your paycheck before you ever see it. And if you think this is just some far-fetched theory, listen, history, it tells us otherwise. In 1971, when President Nixon took the US off the gold standard, gold went from $35 an ounce to over $800 almost overnight. That was one of the biggest financial resets in history, and we could be set to have another one happening with cryptocurrency. So here's how this works. The Federal Reserve doesn't need to physically print money. They simply update numbers in a bank account. No gold is moving, no cash is changing hands. It's just an entry on a balance sheet. It's fake money, my friends. Can you imagine the world that we live in where a computer screen can be updated and now a real form of currency in the form of cryptocurrency can now be bought? When the government revalues gold, supposedly that they're holding in our gold reserves, they didn't suddenly become wealthier. All they did is they gained the ability to print even more money with a new valuation of the same assets. But here's the real problem with all of this. We've been dealing with inflation for the last several years, and the reality of it is, I think all of the pundits in Washington are trying to convince you and me that inflation is only 1%, 2%, 3%. And we all know it's different, right? When we go to the store, when we pay our insurance, when we fill up gas, when we buy eggs, for heaven's sake, we know that the purchase price is higher than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, or 5 years ago. But here's the real truth that you need to know about the inflation problem that we have. Since the year 2000, regardless of who's been in the Oval Office, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, no matter who is in power, one thing remained consistent: the M2 money supply, the total amount of money circulating in the economy. That has grown on average by 8% per year, and it's grown because the government has consistently printed new money, meaning added money on a balance sheet to flood the economy with more fake money. That means every single year for the last 25 years, about 8% more money has been injected into the system. And if you really want to look at inflation, inflation's been probably closer to 8%, not 1% or 2%. So when they tell you that inflation is only 2 or 3%, but the money supply has expanded by 8%, what do you think the real inflation rate is? This constant expansion of money is the true driver of inflation. But in this system, there are winners and there are losers. The winners in this system are asset holders. If you own Bitcoin, if you own gold, if you own real estate, this kind of money creation pushes up the value of your assets. The government wins because it gets to spend money without directly raising taxes, and banks, well, banks always win because they get to access the new money first before inflation eats away at its purchasing power. And here's the other end of that coin. There are losers. In fact, the majority of the American economy is and will continue to be losers in this system because they're playing by an outdated set of rules. That's where most Americans find themselves. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if your savings are in cash, or if you're putting your money in the market hoping for one day, your income isn't keeping pace with inflation. No matter what you think you're spending today, and no matter what you think the inflation rate is today, if you're putting your money in the market hoping that you'll have enough for one day, you need to increase that sum of money by 10x because of inflation. You're falling behind. Wages never rise as fast as prices. And by the time the cost of living catches up, for most people, it's just too late. So if you're still holding on to this outdated idea that dollars equal wealth, you're playing the wrong game, my friends. I'm so glad and grateful that you're here on this channel, because the whole purpose of this channel is to help you see the new game and to understand the rules of the new game and to start playing to win the game of money. Because on the other side of you winning the game of money is your life, it's your time, it's everything you want money to unlock for you. And the only way that that's going to be possible is if you understand how the game is set up, who's rigging the game, as evidenced by this video today, and how you can draft their success for your own success as well. So this is where many people might be having the question, should I go all in on Bitcoin? Now, let me give you my opinion on this, because this is where most people get it wrong. There's a huge difference between investing and speculating. Investing is about putting your money into real assets that generate real predictable cash flow and have real value over time. Speculating is just betting on price movements, hoping that something will go up. Now, will cryptocurrency go up? Probably, but nonetheless, it's still a gamble. Most people think they're investing when they're really just gambling. They YOLO in Bitcoin, meme stocks, or whatever the next hype train is, and when it crashes, they don't just lose money, they lose time, they lose hope, and they lose their shot at financial freedom. This is where so many people find themselves stuck, and I do not want this to be you, my friends. And that's exactly why we take a different approach here on Wealth Outside of Wall Street. This is all about getting your money out of Wall Street, where the game is rigged against you. Make no mistake on that. And it's about getting your money onto Main Street in real assets with real value that produce real income. My friends, your first priority should be investing in real cash flowing assets. This means using the vault to protect your capital and entering the game of leverage. If you don't know what the vault is, it's an overfunded high cash value life insurance policy that you can start using as your very own private bank. Number two, leverage the value of your vault to go buy real assets. Residential real estate is one of the easiest ways to build wealth, because when you leverage your vault to be a down payment on a single family home, you can then gain access to more fake money via a mortgage to acquire that asset. Once you've secured your financial foundation, meaning once you've got a system built and scaling that's going to give you enough predictable income at some point in the future that you're comfortable with, then you can start to play the game of speculation. This is when it makes sense to take advantage of the potential asymmetric upside bets like Bitcoin. This is where the upside can be huge, but losing it, it's not going to knock you out of the game. And my friends, this is how the wealthy do it. Most people's real wealth, like when we look at Warren Buffett, when we look at Bill Gates, when we look at anyone out there in the marketplace that we say they're so wealthy, their wealth sits below the surface. It's like an iceberg, right? The mass of an iceberg sits below the surface, and you can only see the strategic moves that they're making above the surface. Bitcoin, those who make it in Bitcoin, they are speculating, but I guarantee you, real wealth, for those who are really wealthy, they've built wealth that's independent of Bitcoin. So my friends, it's time for you to play the game that you can't afford to lose. It's the game of life. It's trading time for dollars and using those dollars to buy your time back. This Bitcoin bill, it's just another example of how the system is rigged. The government picks the winners and the losers, and if you don't understand how the game is played, you end up paying for it. They end up playing you. So what's your next move? My friends, here's how it's going to work, okay? Step number one, you're in the right place. Raise your financial IQ. The biggest financial moves in history are happening right now. Honestly, it's crazy to watch. I mean, every single day I'm like, how can this get any crazier? But if you don't understand what's going on, you're going to be on the wrong side of the wealth transfer. So if you're not yet subscribed, just subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be talking all about this and other things you can do to build real wealth and real financial freedom. Step number 2, if you're serious about investing, watch my next video where I'm going to show you how to build cash flow before speculating. And then step number 3, drop a comment for me below. Do you think Bitcoin is heading to $700,000, or is this just another example of government manipulation and speculation? Once you have an investment plan in place that's going to create this income that you need to be free, then you own your life, then you own your time, and speculation, it can be fun. I mean, who doesn't like winning the jackpot every now and again? But my friends, until you're free, stop listening to the masses and start following the wealthy. My friends, wealth is easy. It's a process more than it's an investment, and build simple daily habits that lead you to inevitable wealth. Well, my friends, thank you again for watching me on this video. I'll see you on the next one.